Verily, hast thou ever pondered who thou art in the vast tapestry of this earthly pilgrimage? Amidst the multitude of souls that dwell upon the face of the earth, doth there linger within thee a whisper, a quiet stirring that asketh, Am I chosen? Not chosen as the world chooseth, with pomp and glory, but chosen for a purpose higher than the heavens, deeper than the foundations of the deep. Consider this, O ye who hear my voice. There are moments when the cares of this life, thy labor, thy burdens, thy fleeting pleasures, seem but shadows cast upon a greater light. Hast thou awakened in the morning, gazed upon the dawn, and felt a voice, soft as the wind, calling thee to a destiny thou canst not yet fully discern? The days press upon thee, with their clamor and toil, yet that call abideth, a flame that flickereth not, awaiting the breath of thy spirit to set it ablaze. How then shalt thou know if thou art among the chosen? The signs are not as the signs of men, with trumpets and banners, but subtle as the dew upon the grass, yet mighty as the mountains. The first among them is a sense of estrangement. Hast thou stood amidst the throng, with laughter and mirth about thee, yet felt a solitude within thy soul? Not for lack of fellowship, but because thy heart yearneth for a realm beyond the idle words and vain pursuits of this age. I recall a man, a sojourner like unto thee, who walked the paths appointed by kin and custom. He toiled diligently, gathered his bread, yet each night he sat in stillness, asking, Is this all that I am? Then came a day when the words of the Lord pierced his heart, as it is written in John 15:16, Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. And lo, the scales fell from his eyes, and he perceived that his restless spirit was no curse, but a herald of a calling divine. This estrangement is not thy affliction, but thy blessing. It is the first mark that thou art set apart, not to wander aimlessly, but to tread a path ordained before the foundations of the world. Yet beware, for the chosen are not spared the furnace of affliction. Hast thou known seasons when the tempests raged against thee, when thy labors crumbled, thy bonds were broken, or the weight of the world pressed thee low? And yet, from the ashes thou didst rise, thy feet faltering but thy spirit unbroken. This is no mere chance, O beloved. The strength that upholdeth thee cometh not from thine own hand, but from the hand of him who formed thee, as it is written in Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Thy trials are not thy ruin, but thy refining, preparing thee for a work thou hast yet to behold. Even in the darkest night, a thread of grace draweth thee onward, a path unseen but sure. And lo, there are moments when the veil is lifted, and thou feelest the presence of the Almighty. Perchance it cometh as thou walkest alone, the breeze upon thy face, and a peace beyond understanding filleth thy soul. Or perchance it cometh when thou stretchest forth thy hand to the weary, and a joy unbidden riseth within thee. These are not trifles, but tokens of thy election, whispers from the eternal that thou art not forsaken. Pause now and consider. When last didst thou feel this stirring? When last didst thou live as one true to the soul within thee, not merely the shadow the world would have thee be? In that moment, thou didst touch the hem of thy calling. Yet this is but the beginning. These signs, these trials, these glimpses are the first steps of a journey. Come, walk with me further. for the Lord hath more to reveal unto thee. Now, picture thyself standing afore a door, O thou who hearest. Thou knowest not what lieth beyond, yet a longing, deep and unyielding, urgeth thee to turn the latch. Thus it is with those whom the Lord hath chosen, a call that brooketh no denial, drawing thee from the ease of thy dwelling into the unknown. Hast thou heard this voice within, gentle as a shepherd's call, yet steadfast as the rock? There was a woman, Sarah by name, who dwelt in the common ways of men. She labored in a chamber of scrolls, her days a cycle of sameness, rising, toiling, resting, then rising again. But lo, the Lord visited her in the watches of the night with visions, not of earthly gain, but of standing afore multitudes, speaking words of life and hope. At first she deemed it folly, the wanderings of a weary mind. Yet the visions returned, night upon night, until she could no longer turn aside. Then, by divine appointment, she entered a gathering of the faithful, and one besought her to speak. Trembling, she opened her mouth, and the Spirit poured forth. A soul approached her thereafter, saying, Verily, the Lord worketh through thee mightily. And her tears fell, for she knew it was so. These visions, these stirrings, or perchance a thought that clingeth to thy soul, these are the next sign. Not all receive them, nor are they ever plain as the noonday sun. Mayhap for thee it is not a dream, but a burden to create, to mend, or to lift up the fallen. Yet it leaveth thee not, abiding as a companion that knocketh ceaselessly at thy heart's door. And behold, when thou hearkenest unto this call, thy life shall shift as the tides. Not with ease, nay, for the chosen are oft led through the wilderness. Consider Joseph, son of Jacob, who dreamed of greatness, yet was cast into bondage and the pit. His brethren forsook him, the iron bound him, yet the Lord's purpose held him fast. In the fullness of time, he rose to deliver a nation from famine. Seest thou the truth? Thy afflictions are not thy end, but thy passage to the place appointed for thee. Perchance thou sayest, I am not strong enough for such a way. Verily, I say unto thee, none are strong in their own might. Yet hear the promise of Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Thou goest not alone. When thou art chosen, the arm of the Lord upholdeth thee, through fear, through doubt, through the days when thy spirit crieth out to flee. And lo, another marvel cometh to pass. As thou walkest this path, thou shalt draw others unto thee. Not as the proud draw acclaim, but as a lamp draweth the weary in the night. I knew a man, Mike by name, once lost to the wine of the vine, his days a ruin. Yet the Lord redeemed him, and he began anew. He sought not to proclaim himself, yet men came to him, seeking the secret of his endurance. He spake unto me, saying, I know not why they come, but I must aid them. This is the mark of the chosen. Thy life becometh a beacon, though thou seest it not. Consider this, O beloved. Hath any soul ever named thee a light in their darkness? A word of gratitude, a look of relief. These are not chance, but the fruit of thy calling. When thou livest as one appointed, thou shinest, even in the days when thou feelest thy store is empty. And so I ask thee, if thou art chosen, what meaneth this for thy days upon the earth? Verily we have spoken of estrangement, of the call within, and of the refining fires that mark the chosen. But now, let us draw nigh unto the heart of the matter. If thou art indeed chosen, this is no mere sentiment, nor a scattering of happenstance. It is an invitation to live not as the world liveth, but as one set apart for the glory of the Most High. Thou art not here to merely abide, but to work a work that echoeth into eternity. Look unto the saints of old, Moses, Mary, Paul. Were they not vessels of clay, frail as thou art? Moses, a man of blood and trembling tongue. Mary, a maiden lowly. Paul, once a persecutor of the flock. Yet what set them apart? They heard the voice of the Lord, and though their hearts quaked, they answered, "Here am I." The chosen are not without flaw, but willing to walk when the way is hid from their eyes. What then of thee? Mayhap thou art not called to lead a host from bondage or proclaim the word to nations, yet thy calling is no less. Perchance it is to bear hope to one soul in despair, to guide a child in righteousness, or to bring forth a work unseen by this age. Know this, when thou art chosen, thy life belongeth not to thee alone, but to the purpose of him who calleth thee. I heard tell of a man, Tom, a mender of chariots, whose hands were stained with toil. His days were humble, yet he spake with all who crossed his path. One day a stranger entered, his countenance fallen. Tom mended his steed, but more, he heard the man's tale of loss and shame. Ere he departed, the stranger said, "Thy words have given me strength to endure." Tom knew not the fullness of his work, yet he was chosen to be a light in the shadow. And herein lieth the truth. When thou livest as one chosen, all things bear meaning. Thy sorrows are not vain, but the forge of thy soul. Thy joys are not fleeting, but foretastes of the reward to come, as it is written in James 1:2-3. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Even thy deepest wounds are signs that thou art being shaped for a purpose eternal. Yet I speak plainly unto thee, this path is not without cost. There shall be days when thou longest to turn back, to dwell in the ease of the common way. Men shall misunderstand thee, perchance mock thee, for daring to seek a higher road. But take heart, for this too is a sign. As the Lord spake in John 15:19, If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. If thou art set apart, rejoice, for thou walkest the way of the elect. What wilt thou do, O soul? Wilt thou abide in the days as they are, or wilt thou step through the door whereof I spake? I promise thee not ease, but a journey worthy of thy spirit. For when thou art chosen, thou livest not for this hour alone, but for that which endureth forever. Ponder this. If this day were thy last, how wouldst thou be remembered? If that question stirreth thee, then the hour has come to live as one chosen, beginning this very day.